Okay. Good evening, everybody. We are here sitting for the January 9th meeting of the Athens Shade Tree Commission. Our normal chairwoman, Chris Fall, is not here tonight. So can start off, if I can get a motion here to let me act as the sitting council or seat person, whatever.
Yeah, I'd like to motion to make Tristan Kinnison the sitting chair for
Okay.
this meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So let's start. I think we have a quorum here. Four is a quorum. I Googled that right before we started. The disposition of the minutes. Michael, I believe you've been in charge of them.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see them. We may want to bring this up later. I don't know that that's your fault.
Christine usually sends them, and I bet you didn't.
Gotcha. So, yeah, we have a little bit of a slapdash thing here. I kind of jerry-rigged an agenda for the evening, so.
Should we delay that approval till next meeting? That's what I've done in the past.
Yeah,
and
we can
other-
go ahead and do that. I would kind of like to get into it here later. I was trying to find them on the STC site anyway, and it seems like they stopped at 2023. So there might be a little bit of a backlog of where they've been sitting somewhere. So we can motion to delay that until next week. Second?
Second.
Okay. All approved?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. So we can start on our Title 33 stuff for the week. So to start, she is not here tonight, but tonight is actually the final meeting of Chris Fall's 3-year appointment to the commission. I believe she is seeking reappointment for the next one. So we will hopefully see her next month. I believe that goes to the mayor and council. So passing on that, the next thing to get into might be getting into the Athens Independent Report on the removal of the blue spruce on East State Street for the Christmas tree this year. I guess last year. So I don't know if anybody has seen this yet, but basically what occurred, the city went ahead and removed a pretty mature, fairly diseased blue spruce on East State Street in front of the community center or recreation center or whatever it is, and did not seek approval or counsel with the commission, which under Title 33 they should have. So that will be something that we'll need to address moving forward. Kind of strikes an underlying issue that we have here of kind of lack of back and forth between us and the city, which I think we might want to get into here later. But as of now, looking into Title 33, if I can pull it up here, it's pretty clearly states here under the prohibitions that no person shall plant, prune, or move any tree in any public area of the city of Athens, even within the Parks District, without first obtaining permission from Service Safety Director. So Andy Stone, that needs to be given in writing, except in an emergency. I suppose this probably wasn't an emergency. We all saw Christmas coming and probably the need for the yearly Christmas tree. Rendered after seeking the advice and consultation of the Shade Tree Commission. That was not rendered, so that will be something that we would like to work on in the future. Hopefully next year we do not have this same issue. I would like to maybe open that up to comment from anyone, if anyone has anything.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like Title 33 says, we need to be consulted, even if, the decision is made by the Service Safety Director. Consultation with the Tree Commission is important. We have the resources and the expertise to give valuable information and guidance to the city. And I think the biggest frustration right now is that we're not consulted, and we are often faced with, the front-facing blowback of a lot of these decisions, and not able to have any kind of background on why those decisions were made. So moving forward, we would just like more transparency and more clear lines of communication with the city, specifically related to tree matters.
Yeah, and I think I, would basically second all of that. The thing that kind of bugs me the most is that this was a really good removal. This is something that I would have liked to have seen removed anyway. It was diseased, it was shading out, all the reasons that the city gave were correct, and I would have seconded them. But, we did not get to have any input on that. So I guess that is all we've got for Title 33.
One thing, apparently the plan is to take out 2 other trees in the next years. That's what the article said. So I wonder if we need communication about that.
Certainly.
It's the same thing.
Certainly. So as we get on here under new business, I would like to kind of tackle that and possibly make basically a subcommittee of trying to work out, some cooperation between us and the city, specifically Andrew Cheeky, Andy Stone, and Dave Riggs. But we can touch into that a little bit more as we get to it. So next on the agenda, does anyone else have anything? Okay. So next is Title 37, Landscape Ordinance Issues. Also stemming from the Athens Independent Report, they mention a lack of communication with the Shade Tree Commission from the new build of the Chipotle on East State Street. It is pretty clear in Title 37 that there are shade tree requirements for adding impervious ground cover to the city. Can pull that up here, possibly. Under business, I believe. Shade tree requirements, every 1,527 square feet of impermeable surface requires at least 1 shade tree or 2 medium-sized shade trees shall be planted in a permeable space at least 240 feet within the minimum linear dimension of 8 feet. A lot of babble, but basically a rough estimate of how much they've added in for, their development. I would very roughly guess at about an acre. Which would entitle them to have planted in at least 40 shade trees, large shade trees, or 80 medium or small shade trees. That's a pretty big infraction in my eyes. This is something that should have been brought to us beforehand. Not even to mention there is, basically the somewhere in here, the penalties could be up to $100 a day until that is fixed by Chipotle. So this, I think, should be something that we cover pretty quickly. I think this should be a major thing that is brought back up at next session. I would like to see if we can get in contact with, the property owner, developer, see if they either have intentions of planting around, which I do not suspect the edges of that parking lot will hold 40 shade trees. So hopefully some donations into the tree bank.
Do you know when it starts, for the $100 a day? Is it the start of the opening business day, or when they break ground, when they build? What was the?
the penalties in here: failure to comply. In case any person refuses to comply with an order issued by the city, by the Office of Code Enforcement. So I guess code enforcement would have to cite them first. So this is something that, again, I would like to bring up, another breakdown in communication between us and the city. And that is something that I would like to form a commission or a subcommittee on, to bring in, specifically Dave Riggs, and see if we can talk to them about, looking into citations. I would like to see if we can get something worked out before we kind of go nuclear and start finding them $100 a day.
Yeah.
But, we can see how that kind of shakes out. So, does anyone have any comments or takes on that?
Do we know what the normal process is of someone, developing a site like that? It goes through city council, right?
Mm-hmm.
City council, I would think, should bring it to us.
I believe it goes through the Planning and Zoning
Right.
Commission, and then to City Council. And technically, I believe Planning and Zoning is supposed to consult with us about the shade tree requirements, which it seems like that hasn't happened.
Yep.
Which, like Tristan was saying, this is another breakdown in communication, which I think can be fixed by establishing a subcommittee and having a group of people specifically focused on opening those channels. But yeah, I do think that the Planning and Zoning is where this went first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think kind of everything we're going to touch on tonight kind of points to the fact that the key competencies of this commission can't really be met in these monthly, 45-minute meetings that we have. There needs to be a lot of background work and communication between us and the city. So moving forward, I think, in the new year, that's something that we would all kind of like to tackle and see improved. To get to your point, Michael, there is a piece in the agenda under old business where this was brought to our, not this specific, but there is a Valvoline that is proposing to break ground also on East State Street, I believe, directly across the street from that Chipotle. And they did seek guidance from us in September. And I don't know that that was ever really addressed. So I would like to bring that back up and kind of circle around on that and see if we can get some guidance out to them before next commission meeting.
Yeah.
I think that wraps up a lot of my thoughts under 37. Anyone else? Okay.
Good.
Maintenance of the tree canopy. I didn't have anything on the agenda. I believe Gene might have had something. Is that right, Gene?
So, I mean, this is kind of a new business situation, but I did want to have a conversation about establishing a subcommittee specifically related to city policy and city code, and changing our tree ordinances, specifically to kind of beef up our tree protection ordinances. They don't really have teeth right now, and it's really hard to enforce them. And most contractors or folks, even just private landowners, don't have any regard for them. And so there are models around the country of successful towns, cities, villages that are enforcing their tree protection ordinances. And doing it in a way that everyone feels respected and appreciated, and also we're keeping our trees around. And I think as a green city, we need to be living up to those ideals. So I'm hoping to establish something like that once we get to new business. We can discuss that a bit.
Well, let's get to new business then. That's up next. So on the agenda, I kind of wanted to tackle that kind of starting the new year. So I would like to kind of brainstorm some goals of what we would like to see and things that we would like to tackle, and then under those goals, sort of see if we can assign some subcommittees around them, basically assign them as homework and make people accountable for them, and see if we can get some action on some of those. So, yeah, I mean, to start,
right there, I
what
suppose.
kind of subcommittee would you like to see, Gene?
Yeah, so I'm envisioning a policy-oriented subcommittee that is researching some of these other successful examples around the country, and finding ways to integrate them into our already existing code. We have tree protection ordinances, we have shade tree code. We just need to revise and revisit what's already there, and build on it. It's a strong foundation. I just think that, as climate change is increasingly becoming a threat and threatening the health and livelihood of our community, we need to be more proactive about our policy. And so I think establishing a subcommittee here on the Tree Commission, where we have the legal authority to propose changes to code, unlike some of the other, like the Sustainability Commission, that gives us a certain position to be able to start to change things. So I don't know if we can really address it in this meeting, but perhaps next, I would like to motion to, establish a subcommittee on policy specifically, and I would be willing to lead that as my, role. And I would be happy to bring in anybody who's interested in helping me out with that.
I'm happy to second it.
Cool. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will have a policy subcommittee. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, I think along with that, I would also like to see a subcommittee focused on kind of restoring our communication between the city and us. Chris, in her email, said she would also like to see if we can get a memo of understanding around her pollinator program that she's trying to get instituted and put through city code. So I think that could kind of fall under this as well. I am happy to be a part of it. It might be beneficial to have Chris on it as well, given her contacts with the city. But with her absent, I'm happy to head that and kind of get the ball rolling here after the meeting. Probably, almost certainly, would like to have Andy Stone, Andrew Cheeky, and Dave Riggs on that. Going along with that, a piece of that I would like to see, outside of that communication is potentially some trainings, making some, see if we can establish some tree care routines, things like that for city maintenance. And then potentially maybe a pet project of mine, maybe seeing if we can get some botanical skills along with our city code inspectors. There are quite a few vacant lots that are dense with some pretty nasty invasives that have spread around the city. Specifically, my two big issues that I see around are Tree of Heaven and Oriental Bittersweet seem to be big issues. They're very easy to ID, they're very easy to control. Well, Bittersweet's pretty easy to control, Tree of Heaven not so much. But those may be some things that I want to bring up with them. Bamboo seems to be a pretty big issue as well. There are some pretty mean patches of that. Certainly when it's maintained, there are some, cases for keeping it. I don't think the university garden is out of control, but there are some kind of stray patches that may need address.
Yeah.
So I would like to motion to create a city communication relay subcommission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Would we like to, anyone else have any goals or sort of sub-goals that we should kind of make actionable as subcommissions or anything like that?
I had one more thing. I've been talking with Ann Bonner and ODNR a bit over the last few months, and I do know it's not entirely confirmed yet, but there may be some resources available from the IRA funding left over, and there may be the capacity for us to apply for that funding here early in the new year. And when you're talking about invasive removal and land management in the city, one of the big obstacles I think we run into all the time is resources and being able to pay people to do that work and train them how to do it well. And so there may be funding available for something like that soon. So I'm going to keep my radar open and continue working and talking with Ann. But there may be some money available soon to help us out with that project. So
Yeah, certainly. I think like a funding, grants seeking subcommission would be a great one to have.
yeah,
Especially pulling Ann Bonner in would be huge. So if you want to head it, I'm happy to propose it.
yeah, sure.
Second,
Second.
all approve?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a kind of goal, not really a subcommittee worth goal, but just overall. I was looking at the shade tree list on the site. I think it would be worth our while to, especially with your two's knowledge, to go through it and examine and just kind of maybe restructure it or just look at the trees and
Yeah.
see if they are still relevant to our area or if there's things to add that would better suit our area. Maybe even mark the ones that are like able to be planted close to a road versus not.
Yeah.
We all know not every tree could be along the sidewalk. But the person buying the trees, businesses are probably just looking for the cheapest one, which diversity, you were right about that the other day. But I still think it's worth our while to like re-examine the sheet.
Yeah.
So I'd like that to be a goal this year.
Yeah, and that kind of goes in hand with some other concerns that I've had. So something that's come up is Patty Whitmer has retired, moved on from the city, which presents an interesting issue for us because on the Shade Tree Commission website, the only contact information that anyone has is, I believe, next to Chris's name, and it directs you to Patty Whitmer's email. So I think it might be worth our time of trying to get a sort of outward facing, kind of overhaul of what we have on the website, being able to contact us at all through the website or having our contact information available. So I think that could kind of be bundled under sort of a
Branding.
and Chris's email, she also kind of wanted to tackle and see if we could do something about our branding. We have the Shade Tree Commission site. That's kind of all we got. So
Yeah.
Updating it would be great, and especially with all the new committees that we're about to create
Yeah.
too, having a contact for each, so anyone who actually needs can go directly to them and it's not being filtered and have a communication breakdown kind of deal. It's like consistent.
yep.
I agree. Does anybody know who we would talk to get those updates?
Patty.
Yeah, well,
There is, blanking on her name, but I can reach out to the person I talked to yesterday that emailed me and said, oh, Patty's actually retired in December. So that could be my homework. I can look into that and see
Yeah,
what we can go through.
that'd be sweet.
yeah. So Joanna, if you would want to be in charge of that subcommittee, we can kind of do a branding website focused one.
Sure.
It'll take a little bit of trailblazing of getting in touch with the people at the city who actually host the domain,
Yeah.
who can update that stuff. But again, I think that'll be good. It'll be a good way for us to kind of stretch and get in contact with other parts of the city as well. So I would like to motion to create the branding outreach subcommission, something like that.
Second.
Headed by Joanna, maybe?
Sure. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. that might be quite a few bites for us to take for the year. So I believe that was 4 subcommittees. That is some good ground for us to cover in the new year. Nothing like setting your goals in January. So looking back at the agenda, some new business, training for code inspectors. Again, that kind of goes under, that's kind of my pet project that I'd like to cover. Seeing if we can coordinate some trainings. That might go hand in hand with seeing if we can coordinate some trainings or some regimes for tree care as well. Kind of precipitated by the lack of precipitation last year. The drought was pretty hard, and I don't know that we had a very clear way of tackling it or addressing it. So maybe some emergency situations, things like that. Minutes upload on Civic Clerk. That is kind of how we started off the meeting. We do not have public meetings or public minutes for the commission on Civic Clerk or on the website, wherever that's hosted. If you try to open up the Shade Tree Commission site and look for minutes, it stops at 2023, and I don't believe there are any for 2023. I don't know, those may kind of be in a black hole. Not a huge issue, in my opinion, to try to see if we can get the past ones, but if nothing else, trying to see if we can get it back rolling and get them publicly available again.
Michael, do you have access to Civic, like to add the minutes? So would
No,
it just be Chris who does?
I send them to Chris, and then Chris does what she does.
Okay.
I wonder if that was then sent to Patty, Patty had the access.
Yeah, so sort of unraveling these chains of control and who does what, who can do things, might be a big piece of all of this.
And I just started doing this because Chris asked me at one point. She's like, "I can't do this and take notes."
Yeah, I believe you came prepared with a laptop one day. So I don't think it's a huge issue, but it is something, it's kind of a way for us to untangle where those ownerships are, things like that.
Are you fine with continuing to take minutes?
Yeah.
And if not, let us
No.
know. I have a laptop that I did bring this time, so
I can
you're not the
find-
only one without a laptop anymore.
I can find out who has access and how those get put on the site.
Yeah, that might be a part of doing the outreach thing anyway. So updating contact info on the STC site, kind of covered that. Branding, kind of covered that. Memo of understanding with the city, university, county on the pollinator habitat. That's all kind of housed under Chris. So I'm not super sure where we are with all that. I would be more than happy to see, this, the understanding of how the new city code affects that, ability for renters to create pollinator habitats, how that could be leveraged, if we can get some action play with the university or even the county on those things as well. I know there are certainly some willing conservationists and, ecology heads on both of those sort of oversights. So I think bringing that forward would be great. We may want to see if Chris wants to start a subcommission specifically for it, but we can kind of wait until next month to see where we want to do with that.
5 members, 5 subcommittees.
Yeah.
One for each.
Yeah. So one thing I would also like to bring up, and I don't really have it here in front of us to pull up, is the old business, the Valvoline SCC guidance that they reached out to us in September. We dropped the ball pretty hard on that, I think. And I would really like to see us, especially as newer members, to kind of get a hold on how we would go about that process of, how we communicate these things to developments before we have to potentially fine them $100 a day if they are breaking city code. So I think covering that and seeing if we can dig that back up, explain, this is how many trees per area of impervious cover, going over those things, seeing if we can, get in there. Hopefully they haven't started planning their parking lot yet. See if we can get some shade trees, some little islands in between. Not always the greatest for trees, but it's a great way to hit STC requirements. So, see if we can kind of intervene there before things occur. And they reached out to us. They did what was right, and we kind of dropped the ball. So I would like to bring that back up, kind of bring it to our attention that that's an issue. I would like to chalk that up to us being pretty new on the council. But that's something we should look into, go back and see if we can get back in touch with whoever reached out to us for that. Luke Kelly. Yeah, it's pretty clear. It's a patch of grass right now. They're going to cover it with impervious material. That should be a pretty clear, square feet per tree requirement. Should be pretty easy. And that's all I've got on the agenda. Covered a lot of ground, but does anybody have any, before we move totally off of new and old business, does anybody have any new or old business they want to add?
Don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So I think that gives us quite a bit of homework. Hoping to see Chris next month with her brand new mandate of 3 years. With that, I think we can adjourn. Can I get a motion?
I had one more announcement.
Yeah.
Just one quick
Anything
thing.
we've
I'll
got?
be at the Tree Commission Academy next week. Yeah, the 14th or 15th and 16th. But it's hosted by Ann Bonner and ODNR. It's up in McConnellsville. And I'm intending to bring a lot of information back from that experience, learning from other cities and what they're doing what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, things like that. So I'm excited to share with you guys at the next meeting what I take from that experience.
Beautiful. Great. Beautiful. Perfect. Any other announcements? Anything anyone's got? Hope everyone had a happy new year, happy holiday season, and we can motion to adjourn. Get out of here.
Motion.
Second.
All approve.
Aye.
Aye.